Hi, my name is Chef Robert Sevely, and welcome back to Flavor of Riverside. Today we're doing French desserts. So the first dessert that I'm going to do today is creme brulee. The thing that I hear the most from my customers and my friends is that creme brulee is their very favorite dessert. You can do it in lots of different flavors, and we'll talk about that as we're going along. But let's get into the recipe. So the first thing that we need to do is we need to crack some eggs. And what we need is the egg yolks. There's a couple of ways to extract the egg yolks from the egg. Now I'm using brown eggs today. You don't have to do that. You can use the white eggs. I just thought in the honor of French cooking, most French pastry chefs love using brown eggs for some reason. The theory is that the yolk is a little bit richer than a white egg. So you can find these in your local supermarket. So let me do it the main way that everybody knows how. So I'm gonna pull open this egg and go to one side on it. And then I'm gonna go back and forth through the shell. And usually it only takes me once. So I've separated that white from the yolk. White's in here. We can keep those. You can do egg white omelets. You can whip them and make meringues and stuff like that. Otherwise, just discard them. Okay, so now I have 8 egg yolks in this bowl. Get rid of that. And to the egg yolks, I'm going to add sugar. Okay, so that's a half a cup of sugar. Then what I also have is I have cream. So on the stovetop, I have heavy cream. And to the heavy cream, I'm going to add a couple of things. I'm going to set this aside. We'll come back to the egg yolks. But the first thing that I'm going to add is a vanilla bean. And so with the vanilla bean, I need to cut it open. Now, you buy these also at the grocery store, and there's usually 2 in a jar. They're kind of expensive. Yes, I can also use real vanilla extract, but I really prefer the vanilla bean. You're going to get a lot more flavor out of it. So I'm going to just slice this down lengthwise all the way. And then I'm going to use my knife, and you can use a paring knife. It doesn't matter what knife you're using. And I'm going to slide it along the open face of the vanilla bean. Here is all of the little seed pods on the end of my knife. So that's going to go into the pot. Then I'm going to do the other side. This is what's going to give you all the little speckles and also, more importantly, the flavor. But whether it be vanilla ice cream or something like that, most people have experienced vanilla speckles in something that they've eaten in the past. And that's because they're using real vanilla beans. Now I'm going to take the whole pod and I'm going to throw it into the cream as well. And then we're going to start bringing that up to a simmer. Now, the other thing that I like to do is I like to add orange as well. And it just gives it it takes the creme brulee to that next level, to where it's just not vanilla and sugar. It has this citrus flavor to it as well, and it's absolutely delicious. So I'm going to zest it, and I'm just taking the shreds off the lemon itself, like so. And I'm going to do 1 whole orange. I think I said lemon a couple of times, but that's okay. I'm doing orange. So I'm going to take all the zest off the orange. And then from there, I'm going to cut it in half. And I'm going to put the juice into the cream. And then I'm going to put the zest into the cream as well. So now I'm going to bring this up to a simmer. And I'm just going to simmer it for, say, 2 or 3 minutes is all I need to do. And it's just bring it up, and brings all those flavors together, and then we'll be ready to move on to our next step. So the cream is, we have 2.5 cups of cream. We have, and it's heavy whipping cream. We have the 1 vanilla bean, we have 1 orange, juice of 1 orange, and the zest of 1 orange. All right, so next, I'm just gonna wipe down my hands a minute. The next thing that we need to do is we need to bring our eggs and sugar together. And so this is a very common thing to do where we're going to almost kind of slightly get our eggs ready for the hot cream. And what helps with that is the sugar. Notice the sugar isn't going into the cream at all. It's going into the eggs. We're going to whip this together until we make what's called a ribbon. And you can see how bright yellow the egg yolks are. So now we add the sugar. And I just want to show you again. See, they're still really bright yellow. But now we're going to start whipping. And basically we're dissolving the sugar into the egg yolks by whisking it. And once that's done, here we can see our cream's up to a boil, so we'll shut it off because we don't want it to overflow. And it's just steeping at this point, kind of like tea, so it's steeping. But the egg yolks, now you can see, doesn't take long, that they're bright, bright yellow, okay? And now it's forming a ribbon stage at this point. It's kind of coming off of my whisk like a ribbon, and that's why they call it the ribbon stage. I just want to make sure that it's all gathered. Now, I don't want to overmix with my creme brulees. I'm not trying to add air to them. I'm just trying to get everything kind of to incorporate and not scramble. That's really important too. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to take my cream and I'm going to temper. So tempering means that we're adding hot cream to the eggs and we're getting them ready to kind of go in and get cooked without scrambling. And so it's just a little bit of it at a time. If I add all this cream in all at one time, I'm just going to cook the eggs and it's going to curdle and it's going to look broken and we'll have to start all over again. So nice and slow. I could use a ladle. I could be ladling it in, but if you're fine with just holding it here, or if you have somebody that can participate with you, hold the bowl and like pour in the cream. All right, so just a little bit at a time here. And I go all the way in with everything. All right, all that. So then, from there, I'm going to get rid of my pot. And you can see there's quite a bit of foam that has gathered on top from whisking. So at this point, I want to just stop. I want to stop stirring it. From here, now we're going to go into like a pitcher or something. We need to strain it and everything. So I'm going to take another bowl, and I'm going to get out my little strainer. And I'm just going to pass this right through. Now I don't want the strainer so fine that it takes out all the little seeds. Okay, that's important. I want the little black dots in there. And so this looks good. I'll get rid of this. And then from here, if I had something big enough that I poured it into, I could just then pour into my creme brulee cups. But then I'm going to take this, and hopefully this works for me, without making a giant mess. And I'll go into something with a spout. All right. Get rid of that. Clean myself up. Get rid of my whisk. And then now we have our creme brulee mix. So, in the way that my recipe's written is then preferably I'd like to set this in the refrigerator overnight. And what that's going to allow is for all the air bubbles to escape. and all come to the surface. And then I can easily get them off the top. So since we don't have time to do that, I'm just going to take another bowl, and I'm just going to come in here and kind of gather these air bubbles. So what will happen is if I cook my creme brulees with the foam sitting on top, and see, that's what will happen, is they'll sit and they'll cook inside the oven, and that foam will come to the top, and then you'll see all these bubbles, and they just won't look that pretty. And so that's one of the reasons why most chefs will make a creme brulee mix and then let it sit overnight. But that's good enough. If you guys have time to do that, go for it. So then I have my creme brulee dishes, which these are the ones that have been sitting out in front of me. These are a classic creme brulee dish. There's also ones that look like this that are ovals that a lot of times like you're like, okay, this is for 2 people. But I can put them into anything that's oven proof, okay? So little ramekins like this works. Or I can do them even in coffee cups if I had to, or if I thought that was gonna look cool. It all depends, or maybe little espresso cups, or even for Sunday brunches and stuff, a lot of chefs will put them into these little disposable tinfoil cups that you can buy maybe at like say Smart & Final or something like that. All right, so now this is what we do. We gotta kind of really set ourselves up or else we can make a huge mess. And so the next thing that I have here is I am using my roasting pan, and mostly like I use the roasting pan because they fit, all right? A lot of my casserole dishes, I would only be able to get in 3. So all depending on how many you're doing and stuff like that, but I want it to be like kind of a thick-based cooking vessel. I don't want to use one of the tinfoil pans. If I use one of the tinfoil pans, I'm worried about it getting too hot. So in goes my creme brulee dishes. And I think, because I've done this recipe before, I think I'm going to need one of those little guys too. So then I'm going to take my creme brulee mix, and we want it to be even. So we're going to start pouring, and I can always come back around. All right? I'm going to pour these in. And you can see why I wanted to use something with a spout, like a measuring cup or something that you have that has a spout. That way I'm not getting the batter all over the place. There's many different cultures out there that make custards besides just the French, the Italians. There's even a few custards in China and Japan, and they're all really good. So they all have their place. So I get this all in. Make sure too, especially say you let this sit overnight, you still need to come back and stir it for a minute. Otherwise, the vanilla bean all floats to the bottom. And you're going to have some that have very few vanilla beans, and then like your last one's going to have a ton of vanilla beans. So just give it a stir. You're not trying to whisk, or remember, you want to avoid adding air. And I'm just going to come through and I'm just going to pop them because they're still going to be there if I don't. And I'm not too worried about it. I'm a little bit of a perfectionist. All right, next thing that I need is a big piece of foil, all right? And so then I'm gonna cover this whole thing, like so. And I'm gonna leave one corner up, all right? Now, we need to add water to this. So the reason for the roasting pan is that we're gonna cook these in a water bath. This is really, really important. Like other things that are custards, like almost all custards get cooked in a water bath. So another really good example is like a cheesecake. Cheesecake's always cooked in a water bath. If you don't, and it's not covered, that's usually why like your cheesecakes crack. If we weren't to cook this in a water bath, what we're gonna end up getting is, one, it's probably gonna rise. And then when you pull it out, it's gonna fall, kind of like a souffle or something like that. Secondly, it's gonna scramble and it's just not gonna be good. So what I like to do, here, I'll grab another measuring cup. What I like to do is I like to take this and put it in the oven, and then we add the water to it. So I have my oven preset or preheated at 350 degrees. This is gonna take right about 40 minutes. And you do it till the custard doesn't shimmy anymore. So we can't really get the cameras down here. My oven's here, right below at my knees. So all I'm gonna do is I'd put this into the oven, get a little bit of water, and then I'll pull the foil off so you guys can see. But I'm adding enough water to this where it comes about halfway up the custards. So I'm gonna get a little bit more. And it's cold water. All right, I'm not trying to do like really hot tap water. I mean, if it's warm water, that's not a big deal. But I'm not adding boiling water is what I'm getting at. Because I don't want to shock them. I want them to come up nice and slow. So from here, now the reason why I add the water in the oven is so I don't have to move it once the water's added. But I've done this plenty of times before too. So now I'm going to take these and I'm going to go into the oven. Open my oven up first. A lot of times what I'll do is I'll set them on the oven door first, and then I slide them into the oven. All right, set a timer for 40 minutes, come back, check, make sure that the custard's not wiggling. If it's still wiggling, then give it another 10 minutes, give it another 5 minutes, and just kind of baby these a little bit. Real simple, okay? All right, so we'll be right back with some cooked creme brulees. See you in a minute. All right, guys, so our creme brulees are done. And I've checked. I'm going to pull them out of the oven. Out they come. Be real gentle. Remember, it's filled with water. And then we're going to go ahead and get the foil off. And there they are. You can see that a little bit spilt, or maybe there's a little bit on the outside. This is the whole reason why I'm so careful, because even when you are super careful, you'll get a little bit of the egg in the water. But you get a lot of the egg in the water, or you get a lot of water in the custard itself, it really kind of ruins it. It gets all over the outside, or the custard itself is ruined. So now I have pretty tempered hands here again. I'm going to get these out a little bit hot onto the countertop. Just like so. And our last one. And then now what we want to do is we want to cool these in the refrigerator to a nice cold temperature. Okay? So I'm going to get these into the fridge and we'll be right back. Okay, our creme brulees have cooled off. I'm gonna retrieve them from the refrigerator. Okay, so we're gonna get these torched. They're nice and refrigerator temperatured. Get these off my sheet pan. I'm gonna grab a little bit of granulated sugar. And then I also have an assortment of berries. So I have blackberries, I have blueberries, and I have raspberries that I might utilize for this. Now, the trickiest part is getting these bruleed correctly. I've seen a lot of different techniques. I've seen people use sugar in the raw, which is, it almost looks like brown sugar that's granulated, but it's raw sugar, so there's no bleaching to it or anything. To me, that burns really easy. So this is how I'm going to do it. I have a torch. Okay, this is one of my favorite torches, so I'll show you guys this. It just goes on top of one of these cans of butane. And how it works is there's a notch on here, and that notch just fits right over the top of that. You just press and twist. And so this is all you're storing. The can of gas can sit out in your garage. So now I'm ready to rock. All right, so then I'm gonna grab some sugar, and I'm gonna do a generous portion over the top here. And then I can always shake off any excess, but I want a little bit floating around. So here we go. I'm just gonna click it, it's gonna come on. I like to hold mine. And I'm gonna get in here and it's gonna start beating. And I spin it with my fingers. And I get it into this liquid state, the sugar itself, and then I start moving it. And there it goes. And then I just kind of crystallize around it. And there's one creme brulee. So then I'm going to just do another one. Sugar around the outside. And then once it can start flowing, then I slowly start spinning and raising the creme brulee to where it's almost vertical, but not quite, on its side. And I just sort of keep following it all around with the torch. And this, to me, is the most consistent, nicest way to torch a creme brulee without burning it and without getting it to taste bitter, because you burn sugar and it tastes bitter. And so you can present this in so many different ways. I might take a couple raspberries and a blackberry, and I think that's good enough. I'm just going to do 2 raspberries and a blackberry on each one. Really beautiful. And a blackberry. And then I'll set a couple of these on the plates. And you can serve that as a duo. You can, make it for a girlfriend, make it for a wife, make it for your husband or your boyfriend or your kids or whoever. you can see how gorgeous it is. And when we go to crack it later, when we go to taste it, you'll see I'll actually be able to crack it with the back of a spoon and it will slightly shatter like it's glass. And that's exactly how it's supposed to be. All right, so we're all done with our French desserts. I'd like to introduce my wife, Tara Sevely. You know, we're about a month away. We've done a few shows now where we're expecting, but from here on out, we'll probably be doing shows with our little girl, River. So anyways, I always bring my wife up at the end, and I love her to taste my stuff. She loves these French desserts. And so you want to try some creme brulee, right? So on here, we talked about it, is it going to crack? So this is the big triumphant moment and you can see how it comes up like it's glass. And so it's not going to cut you or anything, but here you go, babe. Is that amazing? All right, so I'm going to try some myself.
You can taste the orange.
It's
really good.
It is. The orange really makes it. I hope you guys enjoyed as much as we did this French desserts with Flavor of Riverside. My name's Chef Robert Sevely. This is Tara Sevely. This is us saying, keep cooking.